Right, so 24, 10, 24 is the 24th day of October 2024. You know, in the end, we only regret the chances we didn't take. And a warm evening. You most welcome to another exciting edition of Star Chat, right here on Star 103.5 FM. My name is Bola Ray, yes, on this journey with you. And tonight, we're joined by a man who has become one of the most outspoken voices in Ghana's civil activism space. He's a lawyer, activist, co-founder of Fix the Country movement. And he tells me, Bola, I'm fearlessly championing the cause of accountability, good governance, and transparency in Ghana. Well, tonight, we'll actually get into his life. A man who has dedicated his legal career to fight for injustice and on many occasions storming the courts to do pro bono work. He's worked with various organizations. Contributions go beyond activism, touching upon legal reforms and advocating for improvement of democracy in Ghana. He is a PhD student at the University of Cambridge, specializing in law. He has extensive experience in law and policy across African nations, the United States, and international organizations, including the UN, that's the United Nations. His work involves engaging with private businesses, governmental entities, and multilateral institutions as he facilitates regulatory approvals for international transactions. So, before his doctoral studies, my guest held significant positions in Ghana's Foreign Service, senior legal and policy advisor or officer at the Office of the President of Ghana. He was one time a legal officer at the United Nations headquarters in New York. He also contributed to Ghana's Constitution Review Commission as a researcher and also access to justice advisor, earning recognition for his exceptional service. Tonight, we'll get to meet him. But recently, our guest was arrested during protest organized by the Democracy Hub, of which he is a key figure, advocating against illegal mining and other governance issues in Ghana. Well, his arrest drew significant media attention and sparked discussions about civil rights and public dissent in our country. His critics call him an attention seeker. But does he agree? Tonight, we'll get to know from our guest, Mawuse Oliver Barker-Vormawor. A big voice, I should say, in addressing the pressing issues facing Ghana. It's my second time of meeting him, and good to see you, Oliver. How are you? In living color. The first time I think I met you at an event, it was just a swift hello and hi.
I studied in Morocco. I lived in Morocco for 6 years.
Oh, for 6 years?
Yes, and so that was the Moroccan, I think the...
Moroccan National Day.
Yeah, National
And
Day.
I met you at the ambassador's residence.
Exactly,
Correct.
Exactly. I hope you're doing well.
Very well. So like I said, a significant voice you are when it comes to addressing issues, pressing issues here in Ghana. So tonight is a conversation. We want to explore insights on governance, your perspectives on socio-political issues as well, and also what lies ahead for Ghana's democracy. So once again, you're most welcome, Oliver. Wow. We're live in Kumasi on Ultimate FM. We're also live in Sekondi Takrady on Empire 102.7 FM. In Accra, it is Starr 103.5. And then our proud sponsors, MTN, we say thank you everywhere you go. Bills Quick Microcredit, thank you very much. To Star Assurance, thank you for your support. To Tesprom Estates, Top Choco, and to Hubtel, everything you. So tell us, the taste of freedom, Oliver. Can you describe it? But welcome once again, Oliver.
I appreciate it. I mean, I think, somebody sent me a text where it says, "Welcome back to the land of the mentally imprisoned." And I thought that was interesting. The sense that one was leaving a space where one was physically imprisoned to a space where most people were mentally imprisoned. It's a sad commentary though, but I mean, I've always said that I value first mental freedom. I think that I am unapologetically free in terms of my thoughts, in terms of my ability to articulate and think about them, and I appreciate nothing more. And anybody would agree that even when I was in cells, that mental freedom showed itself up, consistently being part of the conversation and speaking. So I think that for me, I've always felt free, even if the state thought otherwise.
But clearly, aside everything and you being out, the taste of freedom.
I think one of the things which is important is that, yes, there's we have work to do. And I think that my continuous incarceration, in many ways, even if, despite the best efforts of the various folks at Democracy Hub, a lot of the attention has been driven into how do we get these individuals out. And so it puts a kink in terms of your work and the things you guys need to focus on. So I'm extremely happy that we can recenter the conversation back on Galamsey rather than on myself,
Interesting and very, important points made there. Today, the state dropped the charges of stealing against you. And I'm referencing particularly you removing the police vehicle key. Yeah. Why did you do that? I mean, you've come under heavy criticism. I mean, many thought as a lawyer, as a human rights activist, as a right-thinking human being. Yeah. Why did you do that? For the first time today, why did you even do that? Because you are going on a peaceful protest, you're out there, great cause that you stand for, but you lost it. Especially, and I'll say it, for me, you lost me when you went out there to get the key out of it. Yeah. Why did you do that?
There's something that Supreme Court Justice from Benjamin says, which I really identify with. He says that for so long we've been caged that even when the doors of our democracy the cage have been flung open, we still huddled in a corner afraid to step out of it. As far back as 1974, there's a trotro driver called Asante, where the police attempted to claim to be arresting him and took the key to his trotro. And he beat up the police, and he beat the police up mercilessly. And he was arraigned before court. And the judge, Taylor, said, yes, you are entitled as a citizen that anybody who subjects you to unlawful arrest, you have the right to resist it. Now, it seems shocking to us, but that's the course of the law, that nobody is entitled to subject you to either unlawful arrest or unlawful seizure of property. In this instance, the police attempted to seize private property. And I am clear, whether it's the police acting so unlawfully, whether it's any other individual, what I did was that I demobilized the police vehicle. I know it is shocking to us because we've been raised to the idea that you must fear this institution. Even when they are acting in violation of your rights, you cannot do anything.
But Oliver, you will agree with me.
Now this is yes. I understand as a lawyer that I am legally entitled to stop the police. And I'm appreciating the fact that this has been so spectacularly blown up that everybody will get a chance to be able to witness what the courts of law would say vis-a-vis the ways in which we suffer abuse from the police and our extent of our right to resist it. Now, if somebody can look at that image and say, no, let them just take the vehicle, because we are so accustomed to the idea that our rights must be it must be infringed, irrespective of whether or not the police have been trained to do otherwise. But we must always suffer it. Absolutely not. I completely say that I would do it again and I'll do it tomorrow.
So if you had the opportunity to do that, you would do it again?
In fact, when I was looking at the vehicle, a number of thoughts were going through my head. Whether do I drive it away or do I just take the key away?
You wanted to do that?
Oh, absolutely. Because I need to be clear. And I think that this is where, you see, we have to understand something. That the way in which we seek respect of our rights and for our personhood, including everything, particularly against law enforcement, is that we must not cede ground. Even when it's the fear factor rather than anything.
I know, Oliver, but clearly from where we all operate, wouldn't you, also think through it and say, look, maybe you might be inciting other people to then join you because of your actions and inactions, and then they'll feel that you might think that, okay, I know my rights, I want to do this, the police can never do anything to me, or the law. But then others who will not let any court,
that we saw significant police misconduct that day.
But that does not justify.
So let me come to the point. What we did not see was individuals who were standing there lose their humanity and act brutally, despite the misconduct. So the mere fact that somebody is asserting their rights, that would think that would provoke them to act unlawfully, I don't necessarily share that idea. Again, I'm not saying that I don't understand the way in which it is shocking to the everyday Ghanaian. But I like the fact that we are shocked by our conscience of it, because it invites us then to have a conversation, but wait a minute. And this is why I thought it was cynical, and I think a bit disappointed that the police have gone on now to drop those charges. The reason why they'll drop those charges must be the purpose of the conversation. Because everybody must ask themselves, why have they done so? Because it seemed to be the center of the conversation.
So you're saying that given the chance, you will go for the keys to a police car?
In that moment. I was concerned about the lives of individuals that the police tow truck was running over. That was my biggest concern. And I stepped away from that. One of the individuals had even fallen on the tow truck. And I stepped away and I looked around the vehicle. How can we stop this vehicle from doing that? And to save lives, the lives of protesters, which is our chief pride when we step out to protest, absolutely, I'll do it again.
What drives you as a human being, Oliver?
Dignity. You know, I have a strong desire that we must live in a republic, even if it doesn't give us our means to survive, that our dignity must be respected.
Are you being paid by someone to do this, or to do their bidding?
I think there are easier ways to earn a living. I mean, think about it honestly. You have had a long life in this republic. Some of the ways in which we've put ourselves on the line in defense of Ghanaian values and Ghanaian rights. If a person was interested in political office or political appointment, I think that there are easier ways to do it. Semi Jemfi is a friend of mine. He doesn't put himself in this line. You can just talk. There's so many other people that are just waiting for appointments, whatever government changes. They're not putting themselves and their lives on the line in the courts of what.
So why are you?
So it is not about money. If it was about money, I would have better stayed at the UN. It wasn't about that. It's a bigger question of principle as to how we can live in the republic that so disregards our livelihoods and our humanity. That for me is a bigger question that drives me and animates me. Now, there are people who for this is shocking and strange. That of course we've been raised in a particular way in which we must always be differential to abuse, no matter how it happens. We must accept it. It's the Ghanaian way of life. To invite the society to rethink the ways in which that have led us into how many years now, it's going to be a difficult process. Mind you, even Martin Luther King was assassinated. It's going to be a difficult process. And all he said was that he stood for non-violence. He marched. But even that, we found that shocking enough to kill him. So I understand completely that we are trying to drag our society and the conscience of our thinking generally into a different era that relates to power differently.
Do you fear for your life? Do you wake up every morning and think, well, what next? I can go today. Does it cross your mind, Oliver?
It does. It does. Not that I accept it. You know, and I think that anybody who says that, you know, I've gotten to a point where my life means nothing to me, have never really appreciated its significance. I value the essence that I can be here present, generating conversation about what we deserve as a people. I can't do that when I'm dead, I think. So I want to be alive, but I understand that for certain people, just the mere fact that we are demanding dignity is offensive to them. Because the dysfunction of this country is $1 billion project. That people are profiting from the dysfunction, you would accept that. Like the people who, the state of this country getting worse, shields their corruption from scrutiny, allows them to get away with so much. And so those people, the things that we are standing for, the course we are making is deeply threatening to their bottom line and to their livelihood, to the things that they expect as normal. So for those people, I understand that, yes, this is somebody who absolutely ought to go.
But also, don't you think that sometimes you cross the line and that they can also take their pound of flesh and it can be any form?
Somebody said to me, one of the things I do very often, because I'm a lawyer and I witness what happens in the courts all the time, that I'm very critical of our judiciary because I know what happens there. And somebody says, you're already facing treason charges. Aren't you worried that they would then take the revenge on you? And I say, in there is the corruption of our democracy. The idea that somebody who is performing a professional function, official functions, will be so offended by my criticism of their official role, not their person, I don't know them, then they will say that I would rather revenge, meaning that I will not do my work properly and professionally on this individual. For us to contemplate that as a possibility tells us that our democracy hasn't reached there yet. So for me, my point every time is that, yes, I am pushing the line and I'm pushing our imagination. But I am pushing it in a way that is consistent with law, even if that historically we are not used to it.
Yes, but we know that and granted. But you look at also our culture, our system. You said it right. We're growing. We're not there yet. Don't you think that you're also pushing it? And sometimes your diction, your choice of words. You know, we know the system that we're in. We know we will get there. But you cross the line many a times.
So this is the thing. One, I always say that time itself has no virtue. Let's just not assume that things get better because of time. No, they don't. Slavery continued for how many centuries? People have to fight against something. You have to mobilize to seek change. To assume that time would cure and heal, you can just take the example of Haiti, which as far back as the 1800s got its independence. It's a narco state now. It's completely broken. Time did not improve them to become a better democracy. You can take the example of Liberia. Liberia, when free slaves were resettled, who are now still being colonized. They haven't become better. They're one of the poorest countries in the world. So time itself does not improve a society. The people must fight for its improvement. Now, the idea that we are still going there, it is through these actions that we are getting there. We are doing these things in pushing our democracy to get there, to live by the promises that it makes to us. The promises that when it says to us that we're going to get the blessings of prosperity, when it says to us that freedom and justice, the meaning of those must have meaning in our lives. And it's not going to happen just because we are sitting on our hands and waiting. So I understand, as I'm sitting, that there's so many people who are divided about what is the best approach to go forward. But I assure you, before I came into the scene, before I started speaking, we're already where we are, meaning that other approaches which people have found palatable and have been working with have not been working. That's what much I know.
But yes, in all of that, you also don't want to invite unrest. You don't want to invite violence. And that is why, for me, I'm much concerned about you getting the key. It might be lawful, or you can actually be right on the side. But under the circumstance, also, shouldn't we be civil in our choice of words? And because we saw you going to the law courts, and sometimes people are hailing whatever, and you also want to join. Yes, most of the times you were civil. But people also feel that by some actions or how you talk, you are inciting others who might not know what you know. And that will be a recipe for disaster, Oliver.
You know, let's think about this. Are we a republic at peace? It's one of the things I ask myself. Are we a republic at peace? I don't think so. Because our peace, yes, because the peace of a few of us in the middle class is sustained on a disenfranchisement of a larger section of the population. That we expect that those who go hungry every night would accept their hunger and lay quiet. We expect that of them every day. That when you walk through just Accra here, so many people live without housing, right? We see them on the street, they sleep on those streets. When it's raining, they cover themselves with rubber. We're expecting that those people accept their condition as is. That is our justice, because it doesn't interfere with the vehicles that we drive in, with the fact that we can go behind a gated community. We can secure for ourselves our own electricity we can dig for ourselves our own boreholes. We have checked out of the republic. Whatever it does to its other citizens, we don't care. And in fact, if they then come and beg us for more, we can roll up our windows within the traffic. Or we can call the police on them, because we always have one or two police officers on speed dial. We can pick anybody up. That is the justice that we understand, and that's what peace we accept. But the extent of poverty in this country, that for us doesn't disturb our thinking. Now let's be clear. We have been consistent in our messaging, that we are extremely non-violent. I believe in that. Sincerely, I do. My biggest heroes are Gandhi and Martin Luther King. So the idea of non-violence. In fact, when I was in the cells, what I invited the other cell members to do was hunger strike, to deny ourselves that others may see the suffering. I believe in that ethic. Now, in defense of rights, to speak up in defense of rights is not an invitation for violence. It's to invite respect of those rights. Even if it's an uncomfortable conversation to have, it is not an invitation for us to then say that because those who we are asking for respect for our rights would be so offended by our demand, we ought to shut up. Because other people that we know that have been disenfranchised might look upon the demand of right and see that this demand is bold, it's unletting, And so they might ask of say, we don't want that. We want them as oppressed as they are, because then we would feel fine and we walk about. And in fact, we can even get, I think now it goes for 300 cedis, to get a police officer to lead you in a, what's the name? To have a motorbike in front of you. That's justice for us. And for me, I think that this democracy can reform itself within the democracy. So an invitation for the respect of rights is not to throw away the democracy. I absolutely believe in this democracy. Like you have said for yourself that I'm a person who is outspoken. I don't think that I'll fare well in a dictatorial regime. So I'm not inviting one, nor do I seek one. I'm only seeking the improvement of our democracy.
And you believe that by consistently going out there and speaking out, clearly,
we must push imagination. Let me give you an example. We organized what we call the Nana Must Go demonstration, and we're calling on the president to resign. And people said, in Ghana, the idea of the president resigning. And I just realized that we haven't been able to even contemplate in our constitutional democracy for people to even have the imagination that it is possible for a president who says, I'm putting my presidency on the line, to resign. That, for me, is the pushing the line and pushing the boundary. It might seem uncomfortable. Some people might say that to call on the president to resign is fighting words, that you are pushing them, their hand. But think about this honestly. We're in a constitutional democracy. It is within our democracy to demand that the president resign. Before, I know you're anxious to come in. Let me give you a last example.
Do.
You remember when Sir John died? We had the president, you had the vice president, you had the chief justice. At that funeral, were nearly over 100,000 people there. In the same time, Boris Johnson was being forced to resign over a private party with less than 100 people.
During COVID,
And when we were making this call for the president to resign as a result of that, he who had passed decrees, which had imprisoned people over COVID violations and was doing that, people said, are you serious? This is the problem I'm talking about. And it might seem violent, again, to ask for the president to respect the law, but by God, we must ask that question.
Well, certainly, you might have the right to, but also people will question it and say the how, maybe the method.
Yeah. You know, one of the things which is interesting to me is that I know that a lot of the times, a lot of media attention is focused on our protests, and even good for ratings that we get arrested. But trust me, we are petitioning, we are suing. In fact, the president passed a COVID legislation that Parliament gave him power to rule by decree. We, democracy, have sued the government and got the Supreme Court to overturn it. We petitioned for the removal of the EC chair over Sao. We have done petitions over people who were killed in Nigeria by the military. We've sued them in court even now. So we have successive things, but those things are not sexy enough. They only see the
to merit the headlines.
To merit the headlines. So they don't see those other ways in which we are contributing to the conversation. The discussion groups we're having with young people. We call it the reason why we call it Democracy Hub is that it's supposed to be an incubator for young people who believe in democracy. But I understand that because
then maybe some sensitization and some regular engagement will help. But let's get into the police cell diaries. Yeah. What shocked you when you were in police custody? What comes to mind? Yeah.
Incidentally, this is the fourth time since in 2 years that You've
been in custody 4 times. 4 times. In 2 years.
Yes. All in connection with the work we're doing. The longest stays have been the first time and this current one. I think the first time was about 35 days and this was about 20-something days. I was arrested on September 23rd, October 21st, so almost a month, about 28 days. Now, one of the first things that I was shocked by the first time was the idea that inmates were not being fed. One, forget that when I got in there, those cells are heavily packed, that individuals don't have to even find a place to sit.
So like how many people in a room or in a cell or in custody?
So where I stayed now, when I got in there were about 32 people in there. The cell leader tells me that they have gone up to 71 before.
71?
This is a place which is not bigger than this studio, I'm telling you. And the way in which people sleep, you sleep on your rib. In fact, they mentally have divided that everybody gets half a tile. So that when there's a one tile, you must try to skew
half a tile?
Yes.
In this country, people are
telling you. That when there's one tile, you must ensure that your body fits half of the tile. And they have people who pack sleeping arrangements, they pack you. So you lie there, somebody pushes you.
To bed before you get to sleep.
You are pushed and you must stay in that position.
What?
Whether sweating, whatever it is, you must stay there Because if you do that, you're disrupting the whole cell. It is so inhumane.
So you are lumped together.
You are lumped
skin to skin.
You see those images we saw of the slave ship?
Yes.
This is it. This
in
is
Ghana.
I'm telling you, in this day and age. And
which cell or which police?
I was held this time around at Accra Regional Greater Police Command.
And it's the same everywhere. You've been to other.
I mean, right now there were 54 people who were arrested, who are in 54 cells across the country. Accra.
But the first time you were arrested was
the first time was a Sherman.
Was it the same?
No, that was the same conditions. A Sherman. Well, in fact, I was arrested at the airport when I came in from the UK, and apparently they were looking for the roughest, and so they drove me in that middle of the night to a Sherman and sent me into those cells. I was shocked to see people there in those conditions, but I understood immediately why they took me there, because I understood that they wanted to make an example and punish. And so to immediately calm myself down, I asked the cell leader, how long have you been here? 3 years. Another individual, 2.5
3 years in cell.
3 years in that condition, not seeing sunlight. Wow. Been there. And I said to myself in that moment, these people are Ghanaians and they are alive. I would live. But I'm telling you, it's so inhumane that I don't understand how right in front of the cells, there are police officers who are sitting there, they are counter officers, who take their number and count and write in there. There are people in there are not being fed. The people in there would force.
No, when he said they are not being fed, because I know, and clearly with this, I know our newspaper, and we'll pick it up with the IGP as well, to know the conditions under which these people are in our cells. Yeah. Because I think we need to know. Yeah. We have every right. They don't feed them.
I am telling you that when an individual
because the
is arrested,
pays for that, there's the prison service that handles that.
When the individual is arrested by the police and put into the police cell, nobody has any responsibility over you.
Really?
I'm telling you. Now, when you are in there, say you are arrested without a phone, okay? You have to beg the benevolence of any of the police officers there to be able to call a relative. Woe betide you if your relative is not in Accra. Or in fact, you have a problem with any of your relatives. Because they must be the one who must provide you food and bring you food. Every time.
So are we saying that the Ghana Police Service under no
circumstance feeds inmates? Now, the first time I was arrested and I came
out. But they fed your colleagues. When police said that
I'll come to that. The first time I was arrested and I came out, I was so shocked by it that I talked about it publicly. I was raising funds to try to send food there. The Ghana Police Service released a statement claiming that I was a liar and that I was just seeking attention. So what did I do as a lawyer? I sent them a right to information request. Give me the budget. Give me the caterer. Give me how much you have spent on food. It's been how many? It's been 2 years since I was released then. They still have not been.
Trust me, the police service will issue or will come out within this week that the police doesn't feed inmates or they don't feed people who are in cells.
Now, when we were arrested,
yes,
most people were arrested on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Monday was a holiday. Tuesday, the police service not only was avoiding telling families where the people were being held, even the lawyers did not know where individuals were being held. Throughout that period, none of the individuals arrested had food.
You were not on hunger strike?
We're not on hunger strike. When people were then brought out of the cell, some of them, they were taken out of the cell in the morning. The court was supposed to be at 3 p.m. They kept them in the bus from the morning till 3 p.m. that day, after 3 days. A number of them, about 7 of them, they brought food there. Those are the papaya they went to say in court, there to the bus for the people to eat. And the people were so angry and incensed that we've been kept for 3 days. A few minutes before we enter court, you have brought a pack of papaya for us to be able to feed on. And so they refused in that moment. And when we went to the court there, the court then ordered them that they ought to feed the inmates. When everybody went back, the police then started bringing about a pack of food with a camera. They had a camera behind it when they were bringing the food to film you that they were bringing you a food. Everybody rejected that food. That it doesn't make sense that in the midst of everybody here, you would bring one individual food and leave the others. What are you saying? Even in my case, when I asked that the food be given to the other people, they said no, their instructions were that they give it to me, and that's why the camera is there to take it. Do you understand? Is this an institution that thinks about the humanity of the individuals that were there? And this is what I'm saying, that it shocks me to the marrow that this is the largest state-sponsored starvation program that we have created under our eyes. And I don't know how. We can say all the things we talk about ourselves. We are democracies, we how many years? We are not civilized people if we treat our members of our society this way. And I don't know how. Let's talk about my choice of words. Please, 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 feed our people. Maybe I should put it in poetry or dirge. That will get people to act. But I am revolted by the immorality of it.
Do you believe that your recent protest has yielded anything from where you sit?
For me, this is important. We set out to call attention of duty bearers to the crisis that is the environmental crisis that is Galamsey. At the time we went on the protest, there were conversations being had about it, but it hadn't taken this dramatic effect, right? What happened? We saw the Catholic Church. I don't remember in my lifetime when the Catholic Church organized and called for a protest on this issue. They were more active during the military years. I haven't seen that in this democracy. I haven't seen so many people descend onto the streets, young people, demanding that citizens who had been arrested be freed. For me, it is telling me something. And perhaps you grew up in an era where we saw more of that activism on the campuses. Now the universities, the level of activism on the universities have been killed, overtaken by pain and Tescon and partisanship. This is the first time that we are building political consciousness outside of the university campuses, just in the general society, where young people are stepping out and making a policy issue around Galamsey. Now, I understand that the police, when they on the second day decided, announced that they were going to arrest us, that they wanted to distract the people. That it helped that cause, that they had their own cameramen all over, that they saw that they had hit the jackpot. Oh my goodness, this gentleman has taken a car key. Let us talk about car key for the rest of our lives. It didn't hold. It didn't hold for more than 2 weeks. The people mobilized on social media. The people stepped up. The people held a vigil demanding that people be released and that the conversation about Galamsey must be recentered. Labor unions pressed the government for them to say that we're going to introduce legislation that stops mining in forest reserves. They haven't done that yet. In fact, before I was arrested, my law firm and I we have filed a lawsuit asking that we stop mining in forest reserves. We are back in court seeking an injunction on the 4th November. So, again, gives to the example of the things that we're doing that doesn't get attention to.
The publicity that you feel that it deserves.
For me, for us, the best we can do, we don't have authority. We can call national attention and impress upon them.
And you believe that for that purpose, you will have
I think that despite the intentions to distract citizens, people got back to the conversation again.
Of Galamsey.
And that the government had to fold before labor union called.
But yes, in all of this, somebody just sent in a message, and that came through from Ya in West Legon. And Ya says, why is he at all, Bola asked him, risking his life? And to tie in, to that, I saw your mother, and I know many people did, at court. She was glad that you've been released. Yeah. You're an adult. Yeah. Why are you causing mom so much grief?
I know.
Do you get worried?
I was reading, incidentally, I'd been avoiding that book for a long time, Long Walk to Freedom by Mandela. And for some reason, I tend to avoid those books because people have very little frame of reference to what we are doing. I'm quickly compared to either Nkrumah or Mandela. So I don't want to feed into it. So I try to avoid that. But this time around, I couldn't avoid it. Somebody sent me the book and I read it. And he talked about any activist or individual who is arrested, you're arrested with your entire family. And it's true. And I see that. They go through the frustration of it. Yeah? But in there's something that happened in the last protest. Before we stepped out, my mom called me as I was going on the first day and prayed with me as I was going there. The first demonstration, she begged me not to go. Now she's made peace with it. She understands it and hopes that the son is kept safe when he goes. I understand that transformation that must happen. Everybody wants to see change, but nobody wants it to be their son or their daughter. I understand that. Unfortunately, the lot has fallen on me and my family. But when they gave birth to me, they called me Mawuse, meaning the Lord has heard our prayers.
Mawuse, and that's
Mawuse,
the meaning. Okay.
God has heard our prayer. I hope that I'm an answer to a prayer that they were having, that this is the prayer.
Are you not causing your mother grief? You see her
but
old
this is
woman
what they prayed for. I hope
that the Lord has answered.
That this is the prayer the Lord has answered. But I understand, because I understand the risk.
Are you not putting
but
them
this is one
through
of the things I say,
yes.
That it is not just by the mere fact that people are seeing here as police say, stop it. We said, no, our rights entitle us to be here. But just to speak up in this country is to put yourself at risk. So I know this even as I speak that. But this is one of the things I say to myself 2 years ago when we started this. People said to me, you are going to die. You're going to get killed. You're going to get killed. Okay? Within the short time I have been in cells, so many people have died from road accidents in this country. So many people who have not risked their lives in the way we are doing to spark a national conversation about what we deserve have died and gone. Okay? Death is the only thing that is promised to all of us.
Starr.
You're not afraid of death or to die.
Oh, I am. I keep telling you that I am. I want to live. But I understand that I'd rather value to see our people free.
Because it's inevitable, and you believe that one day you
that
go.
is inevitable. But freedom isn't. Liberty isn't promised. To see people live in dignity, to see us, and I say poverty is man-made. To see us solve the irresponsibility of poverty.
So you do that in dignity. You do that mindful that you're not going to also hurt others. Yeah. You were pushing down, or some of your colleagues were pushing down barricades. They were just, trying to get the police incensed and all of that. I mean,
but it's really interesting.
Yes.
That we show up at a public protest in a country where the freedom of protest has been so guaranteed for so long, and where the ruling government, the ruling party, including the president, went to court an MPP versus IGP, where the court emphasized the right to protest. Even in that case, as far back as 1994,
but
the judges were saying
they did that peacefully. The Kumi Preko, march and all of that.
If you remember Kumi Preko very well, Kumi Preko was anything but peaceful. But let's be clear, we did not set out to lead a non-peaceful protest.
Right.
In fact, I have led at least 15 protests in this country.
But there were excesses.
Let's come to this. Okay. One, we have never gone out to a protest with the intention to attack a police officer. Never. Anytime there's been any violence at any protest, best believe the police are acting out of care.
103.5.
Now, when you're talking about excesses now, catalog all the images and scenes you have seen. You saw a young man pushing back at the police barricade that was pushing at him. Who is being excessive in that thing here? The individual who is unarmed, who is pushing back at the barricade that the person's holding baton. That is the one where we are telling themselves they are being excessive. The persons who are saying that you are towing our vehicle and you risk running the people in, so we have removed a key, a car key. We are being excessive. The individuals then who are taken into cells, beaten up, individuals who are left in cells for 3 days and not fed.
103.5.
That is absolutely fine.
Were you
persons? We'll get to that conversation. Yes, I was. We'll get to that.
You were
conversation.
beaten?
Yes. I'll get to that conversation. I mean, there were images of me in bandages online.
Wow.
We'll get to that conversation. The individuals who were denied access to lawyers, none of that conversation. It's fine. It's completely fine. We who claim to be freedom lovers wake up in the middle on the 20th. The police announced that we are doing special operations, and so we are locking down Accra. So this day, nobody has asked what were those special operations. But because we are so used to unwarranted and unjustified limitations of our rights, that is fine. But woe betides you to speak up and say, no, we deserve better. Oh, why does he want to die? At whose hands? The police or my own hands? Who would kill me? So many people tell us that they are afraid to go to a protest. When they say that, they don't say that they are afraid that they're going to die at the hands of their fellow protesters. They are afraid that the Republic would kill them. And that's what happened in Kumi Preko. The Republic killed people.
103.5.
The people who
Starr
marched that day were
FM.
killed by the state. Now, those who led that march are now in the positions of power and they are repeating the same excesses. That is the conversation we must have. So that if we are able to see some people, see a police officer kneel down on George Floyd's neck, that sparks a national protest and say that it is too much for a police officer to step on your neck. And Ghana will look at it and say, why did you go there?
Now let's talk about the brutalities. Or you said you were manhandled and you were beaten. Yeah. Is that true?
I'll show you this.
Oh, there's
this,
a mark.
This. It's sustained from the police. I haven't even showed you what is on my body.
When you went out to take the key?
This had been in custody throughout. I mean, in fact,
so you have scars, you have marks on your body?
After I was arrested, the police put up a statement that they were on a manhunt for me. And I went to I don't understand what manhunt means. Tell me that if you want me to turn myself in, I will. I turned myself in. In fact, we called them, I arranged with the IGP. The IGP said to my lawyers that if he shows up and there's no media people, they would release the other protesters to go. I didn't believe it. But I said to myself...
The IGP said that to your lawyer?
Yes. If there's any remote chance that individuals will find their liberty, I would turn myself in. Not that I believed him.
But it's a bigger reflection on his character than mine that I would turn myself in. I did. In fact, there's a video online that I was in the vehicle going. They sent one of their escorts through the traffic. I was led through the traffic in my own vehicle and turned myself into the police.
It wasn't as if you were on the run.
Why were I going?
You didn't know. No, but after you
I was
took
there
the
at the
key.
protest.
Oh, really? You didn't run away? You stayed through?
I stayed there. Even when,
But they were looking
when
for
I took
you.
out the key,
Yes.
one of the commanders told, you could hear it on the video, tell them, arrest him. And everybody
then
was
you were
standing
trying
there.
to,
Everybody still was standing there. Nobody was making an arrest. I stood there and I gave interviews. Okay? Now, when I went into the cell, I stayed in the cell till throughout the period. Before I left, the cell was thinking about how do we draw attention to the problem people are facing in the cell, and decided that we would hold a hunger strike. This was on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those were the days. I came out on Monday. And a letter was sent to the police hierarchy. Media was informed that this was going on. So the police hierarchy rushed there on that Friday and inviting me that, oh, my bail has been granted, you should leave. And they said, oh, I'll leave on Monday. I told them. They came in so many times to try to get me to process my bail quickly and leave. And I said I was staying with the individuals who were there. So Friday, they were seeing whether the hunger strike would hold. People in fact, the hunger strike was a solidarity of the haves with the have-nots. So when those whose families would come and bring food, said, take the food away. Throughout the Friday.
They rejected or they asked them?
They asked them to take the food back, and they did. On Saturday morning, one of the inmates was they came with so many people, picked them up, took him in Sawan prisons. Now, we had discussed this, and we had discussed that the only means the police would do is try to disperse those who are in the cells, in different cells, to break the hunger strike. So we were prepared for it. And when they took the individual out, we lined up, and as they were taking him out of the cell, we started clapping for him. And we started singing gospel songs. We sang gospel songs for about 30 minutes.
In the cells?
In the cells. And they took him away. After that, I took my book. I was mainly reading in the cell. I was lying down, and I was reading in the morning. And most people had gone back to bed, because this happened the individual was taken around 7 a.m. And most people sleep till like midday, but we woke everybody up because of what was happening. And then they went back to sleep. And I was lying there. When about 2 hours after that, 6 individuals who were armed, there were 8 of them subsequently, but 6 entered the cell, opened the cell and entered. Then commanded everybody to go into a corner and asked me to come out. So I come out. Again, I'm expecting it because I know that they're deeply embarrassed by the conversation we are having. I come out, and then one of them says, where are your things? So I asked, what's happening? Why are you taking me? He repeats, where are your things? I repeat my question again. The next thing I know, I'm being strangled. And I was holding the chokehold.
Yes.
Yes, like this. Then the other person was stepping my feet. The other person was knocking me in the head.
They did that to you.
I'm saying this is
police
in front
officers.
This is when you come out of the cell. This is the counter, just in front of the cell. And this goes on for about 15 minutes while they're permitting.
Were you struggling with them?
I'm trying to breathe. I am screaming. I can't breathe. And everybody in the cell is watching.
Have you reported this to the police? I mean,
they've
authority
issued a
hierarchy?
statement.
Yes.
They've issued a statement that while I was being transferred to another cell,
you were resisting.
I sustained injuries in the course of it. Like injuries descended upon me in the course of it. Now, as this was happening, I am carried out. I'm wearing boxers.
You're tearing up now. Wow.
I am wearing boxers in the cell and a little white shirt. In fact, there's pictures of that and where it's blood stained. And I'm carried into this vehicle, and it drives off. I don't know where I'm going. I have no idea, nothing. And it just keeps driving. Eventually, we end up in Dansuman, Senate Flat Police Station. Then they open the cell and put me in there. And the cell was extremely dirty. There was a cell that it hadn't been occupied. And so I asked the commander there if I can get a broom to sweep there in that state. And then they brought a gentleman. And I was dripping. There
was blood oozing.
Dripping. This hand, I couldn't move it. So the guy comes in. So a gentleman comes. They bring a young guy coming.
I think you should let the IGP know of this because the police hierarchy that we have, but maybe they don't know the full details.
They
are a lawyer.
Bring a gentleman in. They bring a gentleman in there to clean. So I said, I'd rather do it. So give me the broom, I'll do it. I don't want you to be
In your
burdened by
state?
this. In the state. So I take the broom for him. Now, I don't know who it is. I think it's one of the commanders who I could sense his discomfort through this. Because this thing was being led by the second in command at the Accra Regional Police Command. That's the 2IC. So I could sense one Mr. Nephew, also a police officer. I don't know them. He then suggested to them. Yes.
Police station, okay.
So he is from regional.
Okay.
So the number of police officers
Mr. Nephew, is that his name?
Yes.
Okay.
The number of police officers that came there, there were 2 vehicles. So all in all, about 10 to 12 led me there. So then they had a conversation and said they have to take him to the hospital. Now I'm telling you, I was surprised that they were taking me to the hospital. Honestly. So they bring me out of the cell as I'm sitting there. They decided, okay, there was a hospital nearby. So they took me to the hospital.
They took you to a
They
hospital?
took me to the hospital there, where I was attended to. I was given a tetanus injection. Medication was written for me. I was bandaged and that. So as we were going, the number of police officers, I saw that people who had come onto the roadside. It's only now that I've come out that I saw that one of them took a picture of me in the vehicle, where my hand is bandaged. I have plasters on my finger. And then people then started talking about it. And then they issued that statement saying that they, in the course of being transported, I sustained injuries. You know, but you see, this is one of the things I was saying. I understood when we were doing the hunger strike that the normal and humane thing would have been to say that these are human beings. Can we listen and have a conversation with them and address this problem? It didn't happen. And I'm saying that only the weak-minded, in the face of something that they don't understand, choose violence.
103.5
This is what happened.
Starr.
We'll come back and then we'll delve into it some more. But it's 5 minutes to 8. It's here on Starr 103.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Bola Ray. Bola Ray.
Bola Ray.
Bullets.
Bola Ray.
Hitman. It's Bola Ray.
Hey, is that cool? Hey, you've grown into a big boy, oh.
Efipa. Even Momo is 15 years old.
It still feels like yesterday when we were fumbling with cash and worrying about the way money moves.
Say it again. Now I send money to my AC in the village, pay bills, save money, loans so kaka, investment kaka, at the Momo app.
Shit. How do you think I get the small coins from my bugger pack?
To celebrate 15 years of Momo, you too can win awesome prizes in the Momo at 15 Rewards promo. Just download the new My Momo app, continue to transfer and make payments, and you could be one of the 15 lucky winners of 15,000 Ghana cedis and 150 lucky winners of 1,500 Ghana cedis each. So, Ghana, keep celebrating Momo at 15. Offer runs from now till November. T's and C's apply. MTN.
Imagine protecting your car and changing lives at the same time. With Starr Assurance's Starr Motor Third Party Extra, you can. This enhanced policy covers the glass components of your vehicle and supports Hope for Little Lives, an NGO dedicated to helping underprivileged children. Switch or upgrade now by paying as little as 105 Ghana cedis in addition to your motor third-party premium to enjoy this cover. Make a difference with every policy you purchase. Call toll-free on 0800-177-177 to sign up. T's and C's apply. Starr Assurance, your solid partner.
It's portable, disposable, and always on hand when you need it. Flora disposable handkerchief fits in your pocket or bag, and it's always ready to come to the rescue. Sweat? No problem. Coughs and colds? Caught safely. Tears of joy or despair? Wiped away. Flora tissues in the form of disposable handkerchiefs, box tissue, toilet roll, multi-purpose towels, and table napkins plays an important role in personal, home, school, office, and commercial hygiene, minimizing the spread of infections and keeping us healthy. Flora tissues are made with premium tissue paper, so choose Flora tissues. To be a distributor, call 0243 033 033.
The luckiest.
Starr 712 #.
Luck is everywhere, for everyone, yeah.
Here's to the friends who dialed Starr 712 # and found no regrets. To the investors who struck gold. To the health workers who diagnosed luck with precision. To the tough guy who couldn't hold back his tears. To the passionate fan who couldn't contain his joy. To the seamstress who turned her hard-earned stitches into abundant bundle of happiness. And now, here's to you. Your next big win is right here.
Luck is everywhere for everyone, yeah. The luckiest.
Dial star 712 hash. Now join in the luckiest winning celebration. Every 1st July 2024. Over dial star 712 hash. Now I can swallow to take it through as a group, individual, and now even as a community. Now win is the car prizes are in the community draw or go for the grand draw on the 30th of November 2024. Unlock your luck with star 712 hash. Now join in the winning streak now.
The luckiest.
Star 712 hash.
Luck is everywhere for everyone, yeah. The luckiest.
It's Bola Ray. 103.5 Star FM. Bola Ray. Bola Ray. Bola Ray. Bullets.
Bola Ray.
Hitman.
Right, so you're welcome back right here on Star 103.5 FM. Oliver is our guest, Mawuse. I was saying Mawuse all along, but it's Mawuse Oliver Barker-Vormawor. Welcome back, my brother. And a big thank you to our sponsors, to MTN everywhere you go, and also to Haptel. Haptel is everything you. Also, a very big thank you going out to Top Choco for supporting us. So, we're back, and let me tell you about MTN. MTN has something great coming your way. And also, I'll be telling you about Tesbrom Estates. Well, with MTN, buy now and pay later. You can now buy a sleek and trendy smartphone and enjoy the luxury of paying in convenient weekly or monthly installments. So some great news for all. You have to do is to walk into any of the MTN service centers to choose your favorite from a wide range of mobile phones on offer. You know, the best part is all phones come up with 2 GB, that's 2 gigabyte free data, so you can share your pictures online for the first 6 months after purchase. That's free. So go on, share the exciting news with your family and friends, and stay connected onto MTN. Now, there's nothing more pleasing than Top Choco chocolate. So spread it on your bread. It has the power to awaken your taste buds and make you happy instantly. 3-in-1 Top Choco is just what you need, including and some great addition as well. So we have the Top Choco Cup, which is just great for everyone. Hot, delicious chocolate, and children can take it to school and imagine these at birthday parties, picnics, or any other gathering. Top Choco is chocolatey. So welcome back. I'll be telling you about MTN Care. Orca has something great going on as well. It's the Orca discount outlet. But Oliver, let's get to meet you. Maybe personal life. Nobody has explored this side of you. Today on Star Chats, we want to know: are you married?
I have a partner.
Oh, you have a partner. Where that means? Are you married? Are you dating?
I have a partner. I have a little boy. Incidentally, we found out we were pregnant when I was first arrested. She had come.
Oh, so when you were in cell?
Yes.
That's when it happened.
So she had come from the UK to Ghana, and I was flying in as well. At the time, I was invited by the Danish embassy and the EU mission to give a talk. So I was coming in, and I said, okay, why don't you wait for me? We fly back together. And then I get picked up at the airport, and that's when I found out that we're pregnant.
So you got the news while in cells?
While in cells, and we had to keep it because we didn't want it to become part of the conversation and all of that hula baloo, and we had to keep it for a long time.
She's a Ghanaian?
She's Ghanaian.
Ghanaian.
Yes. She doesn't live here. She works in the UN in Switzerland.
How's she taking all of this? And for you to know that you have is a girl or a boy?
A little boy.
A little boy.
Yeah.
And then you are involved.
I named him after Steve Biko because I discovered Steve Biko in cells, and so we gave him that name. Maybe it's a reminder of the legacy that he has, of the shoes he has to fill, and understanding that his life is committed.
So you call him
fighting
what?
For
Steve Biko Vormawor.
He's called Sesi.
Sesi
Biko.
Sesi Biko.
Barker-Vormawor, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have a partner.
Yeah.
You're planning to settle down soon?
I am settled. I am settled.
Yeah. Are you married to her?
No, is that what settlement requires?
Oh, no, but clearly, I mean, have you formalized it? Is it something, or is your baby mama in quotes like they say?
I don't know what that concept means. I don't know. I don't believe in it.
But have you introduced her to the family? You've done all the
I know her family.
No, but have you done the right thing to live and stay?
I've done the right thing. Let's just say.
So you're married?
We are committed. We are life partners.
Does she support your activism?
I think one of the things that was clear, of course she's worried. Of course she's afraid. In fact, we had for a long time not been sure we wanted to have a child. And when we found out we were pregnant in the circumstances we found, she said something to me that, I don't know how long you'd be alive and I want to keep this one.
Oh, she said that?
Yes. So we had the child in a particular circumstance where we understood that the life I've taken upon myself, that there were inherent risks with that. But this is one of the things that we have always done, respected the space for everybody. There's nothing more, I think, you reach optimum, commitment when you can create space for the other people to be able to allow them to grow and live by their own values and principles. And so even when you are afraid for the person, you do so in support. You're concerned about their welfare, you're making sure that they're careful with themselves and all of that, and you're praying for them. But you allow them to live what it is they are destined to be. And I think that we found that equilibrium.
You want to have some more children?
Oh boy, I hope I'm a good one for this one. I hope I'm a good one for this one. Wow. Now in the circumstances, I can't travel. I'm facing treason charges.
And your wife is there. You can't travel.
The government has my passport.
Yeah.
My son is being raised outside the country. I can't get to see him. Wow. Those are some of the sacrifices that one is subjected to. And so it's funny to me when somebody says it's somebody paying you. It's somebody like the disrespect. Like I said, there are people who live easier lives. And I can much easily be appointed into government, not doing any of this. But I think I'm being driven by something else. I think it's the same. You would not understand why a young man will walk into a church and throw out all the things that were being sold, unless he has been sent, given a particular mission. It seems foolish to our common eye. I don't proclaim to have any divine mission.
Supernatural, yeah.
But I know that when I want to keep quiet, I am unable to. I'll give you an example. When the military descended on people in Ashaman and brutalized them in that way, that was the closest I came to giving up on this country. I couldn't understand why people who said that we hated coup, that we hated all these things, can see the military descend on the community and beat people up and say that, oh, those who live in Ashaman deserve it. That we can so dehumanize people, that we see people rolling in gutter waters, and military, an institution in this democracy would do this, and people were, in fact, even justifying it. And I sat on it for a long time, and you know what I did? I started mobilizing young lawyers and young people, and we went into those communities to do fact-finding, to find out how many people have been abused, to record their stories, to be able to write.
You did that?
That's how I dealt with it. Yes, that's what we did. That's how I dealt with it. So trust me, I want to give up.
It gets to a certain point that you want to give up.
I want to give up.
Oh, it crosses your mind.
I keep coming back, and I have to accept that there's a reason why I keep coming back to this. So I understand the concern of other people who think that perhaps it's been foolhardy to stay in this and not want to. But trust me,
103.5.
Some people are cursed with hearing injustice and feeling that we must do something about it. And that's perhaps where I'm stuck.
You're a PhD, student at Cambridge. I mean, yes, you are there, prestigious institution. So somebody will say, why this? I mean, why do you want to get yourself involved in activism? You believe that you're the one to save the country or something?
Far from it. I hope the country, the people, I think that it is within the capacity of the people within this country to ensure that the country rises above its current station. I truly do. We can. I think that we can mobilize all that is good in us to achieve that. One individual cannot do that. But one of the things that started having a crisis of myself, that, listen, I started university when I was 16.
You started university?
When I was 16.
Which university
I
is
was
it?
in Morocco.
Oh.
Yes, I went to Morocco for school when I was 16.
Secondary school was where first before the university
So
education?
I left. I grew up in Akuse.
Akuse. Okay,
yes,
so you're an Akuse boy.
Yes,
Okay.
I grew up with my dad and then later on with my stepmom. My stepmom was a policewoman. So I grew up in the police barracks.
Oh,
so
really?
far from it, the people think I have a lot of friends within the police. This thing, I have because I grew up. A lot of them raised me.
In the police barracks.
Yes, a lot of them raised me. You know, I bought my first condom because one of them would send me to go and buy a condom from.
Oh,
the
you
corner
bought
shop
your first condom
for them?
At
not
what
for
age?
myself. Or I was probably like 11.
For them.
For them,
Okay.
you know, like I'm telling you, like again, when you're raised in the barracks,
you're a friend of
exposed
the
to a lot.
police. Yes.
You understand? So I have a lot of them. They have enormous love for me. Like when I'm on the road and police officers see me, they understand that I'm fighting a cause that benefits the police officers. So understand that.
So
And when
secondary
these
school was
excesses
where?
happen-
Where it was in Akuse?
No, secondary school was in Akuse. So I went to Akuse. I went to Akwamuman.
Akwamuman
in
Secondary
Akosombo.
School.
Yes.
So then everybody, I mean, at age 16, you should be.
Oh, I went to school when I think I was 12, turning 13.
When you went to
I
secondary
joined
school?
Yes.
Sharp boy.
I don't know what it was. I mean, what had happened was, so my parents got divorced when I was less than 1. And because of the misogyny in those days, my dad insisted that he was taking his boy, and so he didn't allow my mom access. So I grew up with my dad. In fact, there's an interesting picture of me. You know, my dad was one of the first assembly men in his community. You know, when the PNDC was transitioning to democracy, they said they were going to test democracy at the grassroots. So they started with the assembly. And I have a picture, Dad has a picture of me in camouflage, and he's holding me, and he's casting his vote then. And so I was raised with my dad, and he was traveling a lot. So of all my cousins, I've lived with everybody. So I had to be shopped around. So my dad got married again. And so I had to be put to school early. And that's kind of what happened. And then when I was in class 1 as well, I was jumped to class 3. So all those helped.
Right. So 13, you were in secondary school.
Yeah.
16, you entered university in Morocco.
Yeah.
And a little bird whispered to me that you went there on scholarship. Is that true?
Yes, I was on
Under President Kufuor.
Under President Kufuor. In fact, when we went there, Kofi Annan, who was the Kofi Annan's brother, was the ambassador there. And talking about mentors, that's somebody who took me under his wings. Because he always talked about he loved my brain. I didn't understand what he meant at that young age. But he made sure that there was any diplomatic event, whatever it is, I would be there. And so I was very fast exposed to so much by the coverage that I got, that by the time I returned to Ghana, I actually got a call from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I don't know whether it's happened to anybody else. He had left. Ambassador Kote had come. When I got to Ghana, the embassy there had recommended me to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. There's a young boy that we think needs to get into the ministry. Wow. That's how I ended up being in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
At age what?
I was 22, I think.
22?
Then when I came in, I
So
then
was
joined the
after 6 years.
Constitution Review Commission. Yes, I was in Morocco for 6 years, and I joined the Constitution Review Commission then. So then I was one of the youngest researcher in the research team, and then immediately after the Foreign Affairs in the legal department. Wow. And then eventually, because then I worked in the Constitution Review Commission with Professor Atuguba. Then President Mills dies in office by the time the project is completed. Atuguba then gets appointed to the presidency, and then reaches out to me that I want to work with you again. At the time, I was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I said, I don't want to be a political appointee. So what they did was that they wrote to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs asking that I be seconded to the presidency. So I was there as a civil servant, receiving
at the
700
office
cedis.
of the president.
Receiving 700 cedis a month. But I was clear that I did not want to be a political appointee, and so I stayed with the civil service till I resigned.
So you don't belong to the NDC?
In fact, I left that office because Raymond came in and members within the NDC were saying that he's not a politician and why have you given the post to an academic. When he left the office, I said, okay, my time is due. I mean, what am I doing here? And I left to Harvard at the time. But yeah, I never belonged to any party. I've never believe this or not, I have never voted for either the NDC or the NPP.
You have never?
Never in my life. I've consistently voted for the CPP.
Wow, this is new.
Not because I'm an Nkrumahist, I've never been, but because
you don't believe the ideologies of any of these great parties.
In fact, no, absolutely not.
You don't?
No, I don't think so. But I believe. But actually, let me rephrase that. I am more drawn to the ethic and the principle to have a stronger third force in our politics that increases the competition and scrutiny more. So that's why I've continued to vote for a smaller party, and I'll continue to do so.
So this December, you will vote for a smaller party.
Unfortunately, I have not been able to register. I know I can still do it because there's a Supreme Court
Yes,
decision,
yeah.
but I do intend to vote for none of the two parties again.
You won't?
No, because I feel like I'll be wasting my vote if I did.
Wow.
I want to vote for a principle. The principle is that it enhances our democracy better for a stronger third party to be in force.
And in your opinion, a stronger third party now
would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, but
you think about
who are you looking at?
Oh, traditionally I've always been drawn to that because I've always voted for the CPP. It's been difficult.
You think it's still the third force?
It has lost ground.
No, the CPP has lost ground.
There's no question. It has lost ground. You know, the friends of mine there, but truly it's not the party that so many people believe it to be in many ways.
So you won't vote for the CPP this time?
I still want to. I want a reason. I still want to.
So if the CPP is not a third force, which one is now?
I'm saying this here for the first time, and he would back me up. Alan Chemati gave me a call and asked me to be his vice president.
Oh, Alan Chemati called you to be his vice president?
Yes. 103.5. I said, as flattered, I wrote him a letter, nice
Starr FM.
I said, as flattered as I am, I'm only 37. But I do wish you well. I think that the way my path forward, I don't think it's in politics. I think it is continuing to mobilize our citizens. I'm not interested. I'm not looking for partisan office. I think that if party can solve our problems, it would have already done that. I think what is missing in our democracy is the citizens getting involved. That's why my project is committed to mobilizing citizens. Now, of course, in doing so, I understand that it gives way to a lot of misunderstanding. People who have only been shown one way of there's no example for what we have done. What we are doing now, people compare it to what? CJA. Because they think it is, it's a partisan project. So it's AFAC. Yeah, so we know that the politics.
So you can state here and now that the democracy hub is not aligned to any.
Not when we mobilize as Face the Country, not when we mobilize Occupy Julobi House, have we received a penny.
How do you finance your activism and
you know what's funny in all of this? We always do it publicly. We crowdsource.
Oh.
We even put the information of those that donate to us. There's a platform now that Pen Plus Bytes created called Yensomubi. We put this campaign for this protest there for people to donate to it.
And they do?
Consistently, yes. And you can see how much we have received in donations. Because we want to be able to be as transparent in this process as we can. But I think that there's a template that past things like this have given people, that they only believe that it can only lead into a partisan project and it must reinforce the status quo. I do want that through this, many young people will be interested in getting into politics, but I don't want to do something that reinforces the dominant two parties. It doesn't serve our democracy, I sincerely believe.
Your biggest influence is growing up? Where?
My dad, actually.
Your dad?
Even though there was a point throughout this activism that I had to block him.
Oh, you blocked your dad on WhatsApp?
I had to block him. No, I'm telling you why. I'm telling you why. Because when we started this, and I can understand the parental concern, but every day, my dad would wake up and forward me messages of everybody who are, like old people do. And he would forward me so many messages reminding me that I'm going to die. And so much so that it was affecting
103.5.
And I said, I can't take this anymore.
So you blocked your dad?
So I had to block him. Now
you don't pick his calls.
He's living in my house. So, but at some point,
you had to block him out.
I wake up from bed, anxiety, because I pick up my phone. It's like tons and tons and tons of that.
From your dad?
From my dad. But I grew up idolizing him. I mean, when I was younger, I was always called the Assemblyman's boy because he was the first assemblyman of our community. People loved him. Road was done in the community. And I saw so many people come to him with our problems. I would sit in and watch him. He introduced me at a very young age to political discussions. He would ensure that I'll come and sit and watch the TV. Incidentally, when I was a young boy, in 1996, guess who my idol was?
Who?
Nana Akufo-Addo. When he lost the primaries to Kufuor,
President Akufo-Addo was your idol?
Yes. When he lost the primaries to Kufuor, I cried. Young people in my area teased me to death. I'm telling you.
Have you met him before?
When I was a Constitution Review Commission, he had been invited to interview as the former Attorney General. In that circumstance,
would you love to have a sit down with him? This your idol. This somebody you idolize.
He used to be.
He's not.
And in fact, I wrote an article where I was talking about, and that's one of the dangers of why I don't even want to step into politics, is that those people who give their lives fighting for an ideal, to see what they have become, It's like when Peter said, I would never betray him, and when the cock crowed 3 times, he had done something that he shouldn't have done. That I look upon them and I can't believe this is what they've become, and he has become in particular. Today, people say that I'm his number 1 enemy. I never was. I loved this man. I became a lawyer because of him. Do you understand? Like,
would you want to meet him?
I think that he has to redeem himself to the nation in some regard, for me to feel so. I feel he has to redeem himself to the nation. For all that has happened, he says, and there's still a remote chance. He says that he's put his presidency on the line. He's 2 months. He can still resign and show.
You still want the president to resign? Yes. He's tackling Galamsey. He's put together a commission. They're fighting. The soldiers are going back and all of that. Shouldn't you give him that credit, Oliver?
He still has a chance to show Ghanaians that when a person gives their word is their bond. And that his resignation will give Ghanaians a chance to dream. In 2016, when President Mills and Mahama lost, I was saying that he had to lose because Ghanaians should not accept this level of mediocrity and reward it with a second term.
So you were happy that President Mahama lost the election?
Yes, I mean, I was out of the country at the time. I was working, I think I was either at the UN, I was working in DC, in policy at Covington. And yes, you know, I donated towards Occupy Flagstaff House.
Oh, you donated?
Yes.
You supported that?
Yes, absolutely. You know, and in fact, I did that because as somebody who had worked for Raymond at the presidency, I could see it's one of the reasons why I left the country. And when I left the country, I swore that I was never going to come back to this country. I did.
When you went at the presidency, you saw some rots there?
I saw, you know, you see when you are in the country, right? You get convinced that so maybe the people at the highest up, you know, they are thinking about the country and things get lost in translation. I didn't see it. It's like, you know, going to open the door and there's nothing behind it. That's kind of how it felt to me. And I was so demoralized by what I saw at the presidency that when I left the country,
you vowed not to come back.
I was not coming back again.
And this was under President Mahama?
This was under President Mahama when I left. So I resigned and left. Did Harvard, went to the Netherlands, worked for the International Court of Justice.
What did you study at Harvard?
I did political theory, legal and political theory at Harvard Law School. And then I went to the Netherlands, worked for the International Court of Justice. I clerked for the vice president of the court, went back to DC, worked at the UN.
You're a big one.
And all this point, I'm like, anybody who called me, this is the speech I gave them. I said, take the globe. You see those lines that says they are countries, they are imaginary. There's nothing like that. The world is your oyster. Go anywhere else. That's the speech I repeated consistently. Till I was in Cambridge when that tweet, Fix the Country, by Kali J, went around. And it touched me in a particular way. It was around the same time that Sam Jonah had given down the up elevator and talking about the culture of silence. And I felt it in me that I needed to do more.
So that got you back in the country?
That is what got me back into this country. I had vowed I was not coming back to this country again. You know? So that's the drive that I've been on since that time. So that's why for me it doesn't take anything away from me when people misunderstand and think that this can only be partisan driven and you're being promised what and not.
It's not.
Even I've gone on air and I swore by the ancestors that may the ancestors curse me if I accept an appointment.
You will not.
The only thing I've said consistently that I think that this country deserves a new constitution. That is fair. We have talked about a new constitution for a new generation. That any government that comes in, that is committed to constitutional reform, I would support it. I was a member of the Constitution Review Commission.
And you're ready to serve.
I believe in that project. So I'm ready to serve in that capacity.
No matter the government, MPP, NDC, if you are called upon.
That our people deserve a second chance.
Outside of work, what hobbies or activities do you enjoy that keeps you grounded? Do you even have a social life?
No, I do have a social life. I mean, I do love to read. Unfortunately, it's still a very solitary
yes, of course.
endeavor.
Yeah.
I love road trips, driving.
Oh.
You know, I've done with my partner we drove from when we left The Hague to Paris, we drove from Paris to Barcelona, went to Geneva. It was a
yes.
And so I loved it. In the US is even the best. I drive across states. So that's one of my biggest things that I love to do. But I do love to hang out with friends and
you do?
And chat about everything and nothing, to be honest.
Where do you hang out if you do?
You're creating a situation where I'll not be able to go back there again. But no, Teddy's pub. and in East Legon.
In East Legon, okay,
Yes,
steady. Okay, it's a great joint.
It turns out to be Kwame Sefa.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, I tend to go there quite a lot with friends. Actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right then. And what kind of music do you love to listen to? If you do,
you know, incidentally today I was thinking I was listening to Sabali by Mali and Nas.
Right.
And I was thinking about how, like, I was in college when, you know, Kanye West dropped his albums. I can rap several of them. I can do.
So you can rap. Oh, you can do.
Oh, I can. And I was just thinking
I'll take you on a challenge from Lil Wayne. Which one do you want to do? Yes.
We'll do.
Which one?
We'll
put you on the spot. So Oliver Barker, Mr. Carter. Wow, that's a solid one. You're a hip hop head.
So I was thinking to myself today, like, because it's so difficult to get into some of the new school, like, you know, even Joe Cole or
Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick
when he
came
can
out,
identify.
I was in the US when We Gonna Be Alright came up.
Yes,
so that I loved. I mean, everybody was like the jam during spring.
Mm-hmm.
But like
we're trying to get you Mr. Carter, DJ Mono. So we'll get you Mr. Carter and let's see. So you love hip hop.
I do love that. I also love a lot of blues. I love a lot of blues. I love a lot of old music as well.
Really?
I love classical music.
Let's come back on. What about Afrobeat, hip life, and all? Are you a fan of some of our musicians?
We were the Obrafour young boys, right?
Yes. Okay.
We will still do that album and things like that. A lot of the music now, I enjoy the music, but not to the point of learning it actively as those days where you want to be able to do.
So from our local acts, you know Obrafour.
From our local acts, I know everybody. I'm an avid consumer of everything.
Okay.
I can do Edem, I can do Stone. I love Stone Boy.
We'll do Mr. Carter if you can put on your headset.
Shit, you know.
Yeah, we're getting your headset and let's see what you can do with it. Yeah?
Yeah. To you forever, from me to you.
So I could.
Yeah.
I enjoy the music.
Let's get him a headset. Yes. Let's get a headset and let's see if he can rap and do.
A lot of our things are doing big now. In Indonesia, not too long ago, King Promise is huge in Indonesia.
Oh yes,
You know, so there's a lot of music I'm proud that is coming out.
That's right.
But
you mentioned
maybe it's also a question
well.
of time. To be able to learn it and do that. Like, you know, Black Sherif and his music, I think is conscious. Particularly, I love his activism.
Black
was
Sherif.
A big voice during when we ran Occupy Julobi House. He's been a big voice now. I love people who are conscious, particularly One Love, the FQN boys. Like, I love them.
You're right.
You know, so I'll do a One Love anytime.
Oh, anytime. One Love. Okay. Let's see if we can get the music for you to do something for us. Are you ready?
This right is crazy.
No problem. We'll know how to censor them.
Like not big sense of weight, you know what I mean? Like gaining weight or nothing like that. Like colossal, like, you know what I mean? Like, I heard you were looking for me.
Mr. Carter.
Hello.
How you been? You know, they've been asking, they've been searching, they've been wondering why.
I know. Hey, hello.
Where you been?
Shit, you know.
They've been asking, they've been searching, they've been wondering why.
Yeah.
To you, from me to you, from me to you. I was going to say, church, I'ma need a suit. I'ma need a coupe. I wouldn't need a roof.
Fly to be the juice. I got the flow, I'm trying to see the roof.
I can't believe that you, of all the things that you do, you get time to, you know, pen down this and yes.
Listen, we played video games and
we
we sang it and we did that. The time Kanye West came up with his album, I think 50 Cent has also released an album at the time. There was a bet going on who was going to sell the most copies. All of those moments.
You're in the mix of all of that.
All of that.
Interesting. So if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
You know, the younger me was more sure of himself, I think. I think that if there was anything that I've learned today, is to be less certain and to be more curious. You know, and I think that's one of the things that drives me more now. When I was younger, particularly because, you know, I was one of those kids who because I was exposed to quite a lot of reading at a young age, and I'll go into so many spaces, and everybody says you are clever or whatever it is, that I absorbed that too much of it, so that I stopped being curious. And it took getting out of the country, because when I went to Morocco, I mean, I lived on my own. I made my own decisions.
Wow.
Like sometimes I always said I raised myself. Like I could see, even in those days, like all my friends, everybody will get pierced and all of that. I would rather wear a magnetic earring because I'm like, I don't really know where I'm going to end
You're still
up.
measured. I mean, in fact, one of your friends is actually a financial controller here. Even though Numo.
Yes,
so he says he's
we were in
gas.
Morocco together.
Morocco,
actually.
yes. He says he was
You know,
in Morocco.
and I think I grew up in Morocco. I always talked about Morocco as a wrong step in the right direction. Because when I went to Morocco, I was exposed to racism, you know, for the first time, depression and things like that. And I always felt like, why did I make this journey?
Wow.
But I grew up the most there. Like, I was in student leadership when I was there. Like, all of
In
them
Morocco?
that came in, yes, all of them that came in knew me. I was the president of the Student Association there. I was the general secretary. We fought for so much improvement and condition, things like that. So,
all right, so we're getting there. We're now trying to, you know, head to the tarmac and just cruise and all of that, just touch down. But let's have some quick fire questions, and I want to know from you. Shatawale or Sarkodie?
Shatawale.
Shatawale. NDC or NPP?
Cut my finger off.
Oh, really? None. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah or President Akufo-Addo?
Oh, Nkrumah all day.
Dr. Baumia or President Mahama?
Neither.
Neither.
Yeah.
All right. It's now time for our mystery question, if you indulge us. So just go through it. And
do I open it?
Yes, please do, and read it out for us.
Imagine you're president for just a term. My goodness.
What would be your priority areas?
Your priority areas?
3, yes.
1, constitutional reforms.
Okay.
Because I think it's important. 2, I'll disband all the so many anti-corruption agencies we have.
Oh, you would disband them?
I'll disband them. 3, I think I'll get out of the way of entrepreneurship. By that I mean, for example, I was involved in advising Meltwater Foundation. They're coming and teaching people how to code and things like that. So I help them structure legally their deals. And GIPC has a requirement that for people to invest in Ghana, you needed at least $200,000,
yeah.
or things like that. At the time, it used to be $50,000, and it was increased. And these are young people who are trying to start up, you know, tech companies and things like that. We're attracting investment. But for the investor to be able to do that, you can't get like a 50,000 or 15,000 to push you. They have to bring big bucks. The structure is designed for those who want to invest in you know, oil and gas and things like that. It's not differentiated enough for young people to be able to attract capital. And I've been a big believer in young people being creative and be able to find themselves, but the state hasn't gotten out of the way for them to do that. So that even in terms of procurement, to make it competitive for some people to bid for these things and be able to go, because the state spends the most, we pass these procurement opportunities to cronies and things like that. So it's not enabling. So yes, I'll get out of the way, and that, for instance, means a lot to me, meaning that single source must end, a lot of that. But the principle must start from the state must get out of private entrepreneurial expression.
All right, so your next one.
I put the other one back. I hope I don't pick it again. What will you do with the National Cathedral
if you had the power?
Well, it's already shown its promise as a swimming pool. I think we can have a national swimming pool. We can train Olympians. Yes.
If you get the chance, if you have the power, you turn it into a swimming pool.
National swimming pool. We can train Olympians and go for Olympic gold. You know, because I mean, you saw people swimming there. Then I saw that, oh wow. Sometimes maybe it was a sign. You know, like God was pointing us to something.
So we should turn the National Cathedral
into a national swimming pool. Yes. I don't think we have one, do we? They use the Legon one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we need a national one.
And I think there's one at Botiman now. Where we are, yeah.
So if we do of national
Olympic size.
Olympic size, young people can train to swim.
The last one will be, sir.
What is my biggest fear?
Yes.
To live an unexamined life. To live an unexamined life. one of the things I love, that I've never gone to an interview and asked anybody to give me questions ahead of time. I want to be engaged on the spot, and I want to think through what I want to say. That for me is important for a person to be reflective all the time.
And tonight, we just did that here on the show. Thank you very much for indulging us and for coming on the show. You mentioned Shatta Wale being your favorite artist.
In Ghana?
In Ghana, is he not? Or who we?
I would give it between One Love. One Love.
One Love or
One Love or Manifest. I would do either of them.
Wow.
You know, but I love others as well. I like One.
10 years bury her, but I no die.
So this is a tune from Shatta Wale?
Yes. I like this song as well.
You do?
I do as well.
You've listened to it many times?
I have.
Oliver Mawuse Barker-Vormawor. Thank you very much. And your nickname is what? Do you have any?
Well, they've
they call it Osajifo. Why that? Yes, it's interesting. Before you go, why that? They conferred that on you, or you?
You know what's funny?
No.
Gabi Ochidaku went on Joy and said, that young man who thinks he's in Chroma. And I am a troll. And so I saw an opportunity for troll, and I changed my name to Osajifo. And
so Gabi made you change your name.
And made people laugh. And I love the fact that it irritated them that much. And that's how Osajifo, unfortunately, came to stay.
Oliver, thank you.
Thank you.
And have a wonderful evening.